to start this project, I got a Fjallraven Kanken off of Depop for like 20 bucks, which was such a steal. I hope this is real. And I picked up some thread and some needles from Joann's, and I got to sketching. And I wanted to have this lavender design because there's this Phoebe Bridgers song that I really love called Smoke Signals, and she says, "I buried a hatchet and it's coming up lavender." I really wanted to put that on my backpack, and so at first I put lavender at the bottom, spelled incorrectly. But then I decided, you know what, it'd be right to have the hatchet at the bottom. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer that design from my paper onto my Kanken using some graphite. It's kind of hard to see, but it makes it easier in the long run. And now I tied a little knot at the end of my thread, and I'm going to go ahead and poke up from the bottom of where my sketch starts. And then I'm going to move on along the line of the stem that I drew, but I'm not going to pull through all the way. I'm going to go ahead and poke through in the midpoint along the line between those 2 points, and then I'm going to pull all the way through. This is called the stem stitch, aptly named. And I'm just going to do that again all the way along the stem. So here I go, poking through the midpoint and then pulling. And then that's what you're just going to do all the way along the stem. Now, I'd like to note that this is a fairly lengthy process. You are watching it in 8 times speed right now. Unless you're watching it in 2 times speed, then you're watching it in 16 times speed. Hope that's not confusing. But you're just going to follow the guideline that you drew for yourself all the way along your stem. I did freehand some things. I did freehand most things on this Kanken, but I think since the stem is the framework of what you're making, you know, you're probably going to want to have this one be the most planned out. And so I went ahead and followed the guidelines that I made for myself. And so now to finish the stitch, you're going to want to take the needle and put it under one of the previous stitches that you made, and you're going to make a little knot and pull through, and then go ahead right under again and then pull through, and it's secured. And so now you're just going to want to go ahead and follow all the lines that you've drawn onto your Kanken to make all the little stems for your lavender. If you don't love the stem stitch as the stitch to make your stems, you can also use the chain stitch, where instead of making a loop, poking through the middle and then pulling through, you pull through immediately but pop the needle through your last stitch to make the next stitch, going straight through the thread. That stitch can tend to look a little neater, so if you don't love this one, you can always use the chain stitch. Alright, and now I went ahead and finished the stems, so now we can get started on the lavender. And to start the lavender, you're going to want to pull through from where you want your lavender to connect to the stem, but not through the actual green thread. And then you're going to want to poke right back down through where you originally poked up from. But you're not going to want to pull all the way through like before. And now you're going to figure out the desired length of your lavender, and that is where you're going to poke through and through the loop. And so then you can pull all the way through, thus tightening the lavender that you've made. And then to secure this lavender, you're going to want to go ahead and go down right above where you made your loop, and so that the thread is now wrapped around the loop that you made. And everything is nice and secure when you pull through. And so now to do the next one, you're going to want to go on the other side, on the opposite side of the stem, and then poke on up, and then poke right back down through, not all the way. And then now you're going to go ahead and poke where you want the desired length to be. You're going to want this at an angle, just because it's sticking out from the stem. And then you're going to want to go ahead and secure that by wrapping your thread around and pushing down. Now once you've done that, you can go ahead and go through all the rest of the lavender. And like I said, this is in 8 times speed, so this was a very lengthy process for me. I watched several YouTube video essays, a comedy special, some episodes of Barry. I really had to put a lot of time into this, but I'm really glad I did because I love the way it looks. I love having the Phoebe lyrics on my backpack. It's such a beautiful song. I like listening to that song when I'm alone and I'm going on walks. I used to live by the ocean, and so listening to it with the sea breeze in the background was really, really nice. It's not really a song that makes you feel less lonely, because, you know, I was still very much alone, but it makes you feel kind of secure in your loneliness, if that makes any sense. It's a song that wants to reminisce and move on at the same time. It's really beautiful. I really just love everything Phoebe's made. She just recently came out with an album, and it just tears at my heartstrings. I definitely recommend listening to her if you haven't already. She's absolutely my favorite artist right now. I just love her. So much so, I embroidered her song lyrics on my backpack, if that tells you anything. Alright, and now to finish a row of lavender, you're going to want to poke up from the very end of the stem that you made. And then you're going to want to pull on through as per usual, and then poke right back down on through as per usual. But this time, when you're going to poke back up, your desired length should be, instead of going at an angle from the stem, it should be in the exact direction that the stem is traveling. So it pokes straight through. It's the only one that won't be at an angle. And then you're going to pull on through and then go back down. And to secure this, what you're going to want to do is you want to flip it over so you can see the stitches that you've made. And then you're going to want to go to a previous stitch, just like you did with the stems. And you're going to go right on under, and then right on through, making a little knot. Right on under, right on through. And this is how you're going to finish all the knots for this project. Or all the stitches for this project. And snip. And that's the lavender. So I finished the lavender, and then I picked up this off-white thread. I put a titanium white in comparison to see that it's more of a yellowy beige that matches the Fjallraven Kanken logo better and would complement the purple of the lavender better, since yellow and purple are complementary colors. And I went ahead and I just poked right up, made a little line, and then poked right back down. And now I'm going to go to the side of it, and I'm just going to do the same thing, making a perpendicular line right on top of it to make a little plus. And that's going to make the little twinkles of our stars. And you're just going to do this again to make, you can make even bigger twinkles like I'm going to make right now. And instead of doing just the little cross, I'm going to add extra legs. And so I'm going to go up, I'm going to make a cross, and then I'm going to continue to make intersecting lines. That's kind of the big goal here. You don't want to make too many of the big ones, just because then there's nothing to emphasize, but I do think they are really cute. And so I did add quite a few on here. And so here I am just going over and over. I made 8 little legs for this one. I'm just going to go ahead and speed through here. I think this is the most straightforward part of making the Kanken design, is just making little pluses. And then at a certain point, I decided to add even tinier stars. I went straight up and then straight back down. I didn't feel like you needed an in-depth look at that one, because to make the lavender, you had to do straight up, straight back down. So I trust you guys. I think you can do it. And yeah, this is how you make the cute little night sky that this lavender is looking up upon. And also, by this time, my fingers were so sore. I was hardly even gripping the needle at this point. I definitely recommend taking breaks or trying to protect your hands in some way, because oh boy did my thumb hurt. I will say it was all worth it in the end though. Now you're just going to want to secure as per usual by going under a previous stitch and then tying a knot. Now this one looks a little bit funkier because the stitches are longer, so if that really bothers you, you can really plan out your night sky, and so that way your stitches will be very small and close together. I didn't, I was freehanding it, and so every time I change direction, you can see by the length of stitch on the back of my backpack. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. I'm not really personally affected by it, but if you are, then I would recommend planning ahead and then moving from one side to the next. And so at this point my hands really started hurting. Poking a needle through the Kanken fabric is really quite a hassle just because it's so thick and it's harder to poke through. And so I would recommend putting some band-aids on your thumbs and your pointer fingers if it's starting to irritate you, because mine definitely had some irritation for the next few days. And so you're just going to want to go ahead and secure that. And now the stars are done. Now it's morning again, and we're going to go ahead and make the baby hatchet. And so what we're doing is just poking up through and then making a little line for the handle of the hatchet. And I drew out where the line should be, so I knew exactly where I wanted to start and where I wanted to stop. That made it a lot easier. So like I said, you do want to plan these out. And then I just made 3 stitches just to make it nice and thick so the handle will be visible. And then I got this silver thread, and I'm just filling in the sketch I made for the hatchet head that you can see on the backpack right there. And I'm using what's called a satin stitch. And so I'm just going in, I'm poking up through the bottom of the outline, and then I'm going all the way to the top of the outline, so that way it fills in the whole shape of the hatchet head. And I want to get that nice and thick indent so that way it's visible. I love the satin stitch's ability to fill up space like this, and so you can really see the hatchet head take shape. Using the stitch kind of feels like coloring in the outline you made. I really love it. I really think it looks great on this backpack. Alright, and there you have it. That's the design of the Kanken Fjallraven with the lavender and the hatchet. I really hoped you like it. If you recreate it, let me know. If you enjoyed this, tell me in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys!